this happened when I was 6. My parents were having some like issues in Scientology. They weren't getting like the wins and things they were like promised. So I was pulled in for a security check, which is a sort of interrogation. And they told my parents after this that I was a suppressive person and that their next action was to either handle me or disconnect from me.
Oh my God. So you're right, parent, it's not going well, and they're thinking, what could it possibly be, I suppose, which you can get in any kind of religion, because the idea is, I guess, in most religions and cults and things, there must be a reason for everything. It couldn't just be. The randomness of the universe is too much to bear, and they focused on you.
Yeah, so they like look around, who's around you, like what person is in your life that could be causing these problems. And yeah, it was me apparently, so. That's
the hardest. This is why I say it's one of the most shocking things I've heard, because I can't even begin to put myself in that position. When you're 6 years old, you're supposed to be, often too much heralded by your parents and brought up and told you're the most special thing in the world. What was that like for you? Do you remember how you felt at the time to be told that?
I mean, my 6-year-old's memory is not the greatest, but I can tell you my perspective on it as kind of an adult now. Like, my mum got pregnant with me at a very young age. She was like 16, 17 years old. And she has told me in the past that I took her childhood away from her. That's what she's said to me. So that's how she felt about me. So I think there was already some disdain there for me just being there.
How can she say that to you?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess during their sessions and things, that disdain must have come up. They don't believe that children are children. You're all adults in tiny bodies. So, and they also believe you select your body as a, spirit theta, and you fly around and pick which one you want. And sorry, I laugh about it because it's just ridiculous.
No, you're absolutely. I understand that. Yeah. So why would people then choose bad bodies? Not that, all bodies are equally valuable, I should just say.
We are good.
But my body at times has not been very good. But I don't mean that, of course. But the reason I mention that is because there was an old football manager called Glenn Hoddle who, this is not Scientology, but he had some sort of belief system that in some ways mirrored some of those aspects. And he would say that if you were disabled, it was because you did something bad in a past life. Is that at all in Scientology?
So they have a different kind of word for it. They do believe that a person would pick that body, but they would call them a degraded being, which is awful, and I hate it. It makes me honestly feel a bit sick. And my grandma, she's sadly not with us anymore, but she used to be like a mental health nurse. She looked after people with disabilities. She was not in Scientology, and she would like bring people out on days outs and stuff, and come by the house and things like that. And my mum especially would be very like, you can't be near those kinds of people. They're degraded beings. Like, they will bring you down. It's just gross. Honestly, it's awful.
Was your grandma, thinking back to her, a positive light in your childhood?
Yes, she was an absolute legend. She always said what she thought. Like, she was always really supportive. I used to put on like little shows for her when I was younger. And yeah, she's always been an absolute hero. And I miss her a lot.
Well, I can imagine. Yeah, she must have been such a huge part, given how your mum. I don't want to be. We've just started this interview, so I don't want to be all judgmental.
Yeah, of course.
And my whole point is to try and understand and not judge. But so you were saying you got to this point where it was either handled or excommunicated? Disconnected. Which does that mean that excommunicate?
Yeah. So the two ways that could have gone about were either being sent to like a boarding school somewhere. I got many brochures thrown in my face when I was younger. Yeah. Or adoption was the other option.
I just find this so so you were being handled then. That was what they went with, and what does that entail?
So it's essentially this is my dad's words of it. He said that it's to stop the troublemaker causing trouble, make them either sign up to Scientology or get them to at least stop causing trouble in whatever way that is. It involved lots of e-meter auditing, which is their sort of lie detector thing. And you're just asked a bunch of questions and you basically have to reveal whatever your evil intentions are. When I was a 6-year-old as well, my dad had told me that he had tried to like exorcise the evilness out of me.
So they'd performed exorcisms on you. They'd made you they've forced you to come up with sort of lies about bad things that you've done. This is why I think, and I've, as I was saying to you before, I haven't decided on a title for this video yet, but it might involve something about torture. Do you feel, in a sense, you were tortured as a child?
I do. I don't like. There's this whole thing of being a victim of something is really bad, and I think even to this day I still kind of struggle with it, and I don't want to I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me or anything like that. But the things that I went through were awful.
I suppose that's a really difficult dynamic, or that's you don't want to. I understand that feeling of not wanting to feel pitied because it's the horrible feeling, and at the same time it's like this awful. Let's not ignore what's happened, right? You don't want to. You can't just I don't want to be a victim, so that didn't happen. And so what? I guess you can't remember being 6, of course. I don't even remember before I was 12, really.
I do remember the exorcism, though. That was like one of my first memories.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So tell me about the exorcism, because I did for those who don't know, a documentary about exorcism, which we were talking about before off camera.
I knew he was going to ask me. I was like, we'll ask about that at some point.
I did make notes about that. Just because it's just such a fascinating thing, but also so tragic when done to people. I've seen it done to adults. I can't imagine it being done on a child because it's so aggressive. How was yours? How were you set up in that?
Yeah, so I mean, I've seen your documentary, and it's not so intense with like crosses and things like that. And it's something that I have remembered for ages, and I hadn't spoken to my dad for about 10 years, and he got in touch with me about 2 years ago. So I asked him, I was like, look, I really need to confirm, like, did this really happen? Because I can remember it, but did this happen? Like, really? And you're just like, what? And basically I was, I would be upstairs on my bed, and he's an OT 5, which is a high level in Scientology, and it's once you learn about body thetans and all of that jazz.
It was past Lord Xenu, which I think is OT 3.
Yes, yeah, he got past that and was like, yeah, man, like, of course it happened. Of course there was a Xenu. And yeah, I had to ask him about this because I was like, please explain what the heck was going on. And I have been told as well, by the way, by Aaron, he said to me, like, this is squirrel, like, which is sort of off practice of Scientology. So he's basically learnt this new technology and gone, oh, so, they do sort of self-exorcisms on themselves with the e-meter. They sit in a room for hours and tell various aliens on them to leave. And he then thought he could do this to me. So when I asked him to explain it, he said, basically, we wanted to get rid of this evil personality we thought was in you. And then hopefully a nice one would have taken its place.